happy to be coming to you live, not anymore from Hawaii, but from Arizona, from a dear friend of mine's home. And so I want to welcome you on this amazing day of 6/6, where there's so much going on in the world. Whatever your focus is, whatever's happening, I hope that you can just take a little time and be in your heart and hear the messages from Mother Mary. I've been channeling Mother Mary for a little over 20 years now, and the messages are always about how do we find love even in the midst of difficulty? How do we come back into our hearts even when our minds are just scrambled with maybe what's going on in the world? And what I want you to know is that the message today is really going to be about how do you want to operate? How do you want to live? How do you want to share who you are and what you're about in the world, given all of the different aspects of life that are going on right now, whether that's the virus, whether that's the demonstrations going on, whether that's a concern about personal safety or government or what to do. But this is definitely a time of challenge and change. And so I have my own ideas and my own opinions, as most of us do, but Mother Mary always seems to lift me into a higher place, a higher vision, a different perspective of how to see these things. So I'm hoping that it will help me and it will help all of you be able to navigate this in a way that feels empowering rather than scary or overwhelming. So I'm just going to close my eyes for a moment and bring in Mother Mary and see what she would like to share with you. Well, hello everyone. This is Mother Mary through Samarah, and I think that the most advantageous thing that you could do, and Richard had a little conversation with Samarah before the beginning and asked about D-Day, you know? This is the anniversary of D-Day, which was a huge undertaking when the forces of the US, along with other nations, decided that the rule of Hitler could not be permitted. So I want you to just sort of think about that for a moment. Because on the one hand, there were people in America who were saying, oh, that's way over there. We shouldn't have to worry about that. That's way over there, you know. But life being life anymore, there's nothing way over there, no matter where you are in the world these days. And so this is another kind of D-Day that's happening right now in your world. Only this time, I would say the D stands for decision. It's about making decisions for yourself, for your family, for your country, for your world that really reflect what you want to see. We named this particular month Dare to Dream, but really it's not the dreaming that you think about, well, let's see, I'd like a palace and a Mercedes and, you know, whatever. That, you know, that's fine. That's daydreaming. That's wishful thinking. You're really here on this planet to forge and create a planet worthy of who you are, the sons and daughters of God. You're here to forge that, to create that, to empower that, to give energy to it, and in a funny way, to breathe it to life. There's so much going on about breath. If you think about the COVID virus, many people can't breathe, right? They're put on respirators and ventilators because their lungs are full of fluid and they can't breathe. In the death of Mr. Floyd, it was, I can't breathe. And that's become a sort of a slogan that you see on t-shirts and in the media. Well, what is breath anyway? What is it? It's your choice to be alive. It's your choice to be engaged in your world, to breathe something in and to breathe something out. And it's really more than oxygen. Oxygen is, of course, the scientific term, but what are you breathing in and what are you breathing out? And so the decision is really about, do I want to simply hunker down and be afraid and hide and put on my mask and go into some sort of, cave situation. And even if I do wear a mask, how can I invoke a different atmosphere as everyone's walking around with masks? What does that mean? What it really means is that your nose and mouth, which you don't always think of being connected, are being highlighted as how you breathe, but also how you speak. Many of you may have noticed when you have your mask on and you're trying to speak to each other, there's a lot of confusion. It's very difficult to hear each other with the mask on. So in a way, what's happening is that the voice that you would like to share and the breath you would like to have are at the moment, in many cases, being muffled and contained. And so as you think about decisions coming into the future, and as you've watched all the different countries dealing with the virus in different ways, all the different decisions, let's open up quickly, let's not open up, let's open up this one and not that one. All of these decisions are being made without a clear understanding of the vision of what you want to see. They're all sort of these knee-jerk reactions to whoever's speaking the loudest or whoever feels something should be done. But what is so absent is the decision on the part of all of you to create a world worth living in. And so when I talk about dreaming, it's like the dreaming and the decision. See, dreaming is another DDay. It's like the dream has to be, how do I want to live? So that by the end of my life, whenever that is, 100 years from now or 100 minutes from now, when you come home to us, we want you to be proud of how you've lived. We want you to celebrate how you've lived. We want you to feel so complete with how you've lived. And to look back at the legacy of light that you've left, at the smiles and the friendships and the kindness and the love that you showered on your friends and family and animals and trees and nature and all of it. Because right now, what's being covered up is your very breath and your voice. And so take a little time to think about, what is the vision of the world I'd like to see? And therefore then, what are the decisions that I can make in my little corner? Barack Obama said that beautifully yesterday online. He said, you may not be able to change everything, but you can change your corner. So what's your corner? Maybe it's loving your animals. Maybe it's caring for, the elderly. Maybe it's fostering a child. There's so many different things that you can do. But the overriding shift from separation to unification is to see this one world thriving, no longer divided into countries, no longer divided into religions, no longer divided into Republican, Democrat, Independent, whatever. But to see, as we do, the light that you are and the light that this world can be, and then to take your place in that light. All of you carry a tremendous amount of light. So the decision is really, how can I bring my light into the world in a brighter and brighter way? And the first and foremost understanding is that just making that decision already will set you in motion. To say, I'm choosing to bring my light into the world in the most benevolent, beneficial way. So now we come to, how do I deal with conflict? Because what I would like to do maybe isn't what my neighbor thinks I should do, or what my father or mother or sister or brother, children think I should do. How do I deal with conflict? And this is the next part of what you're seeing in part in the streets. You're seeing acts of courage. You're seeing people stand up for what they believe in. Now, what's their motivation? Is someone paying them? It doesn't matter. They're not on the sofa watching reruns. They're out doing something. So the vision, the dream, and your decision come into place. Let me give you an example. So we called Samarah back from the beauty of Kauai, in part because so many of her friends and family are feeling disconnected and sort of disjointed in a way. And many of you are connectors. You know how to be a good friend. You know how to be a good host or hostess. You know how to bring people back together. And yet, of course, in this time of the virus, oftentimes that doesn't mean around a kitchen table, or it doesn't mean in the living room. It often means in Zoom, in the Zoom living room. But nonetheless, what I'm going to suggest to you is that if you tune into the question, so you've made the decision, I want to be a brighter light. The next thing is to tune into the decision. How could I share my light today? And who might need my light today? And it's really that simple. And so you have many, many different venues available over the internet. All we're saying is you can use that, you can call a friend, you can email, you can, if it's time to go have coffee or something and you're allowed to do that, you can go do that. But it's like, instead of focusing on whatever you're eating, which is fine, to really take a moment and look through the third eye and your other eyes, breathing in and seeing that person or persons you're with and saying, how are you? It's so good to see you and to be with you. What you're doing in that moment is you're breathing in what everyone is really missing right now, which is connection. You're breathing in and creating connection. And you're listening to how they're doing or how they're feeling or what's going on with them or whatever. And in that process, the divisionary aspects of life and society are lost in that moment. They dissolve away. So rather than an argument, you're creating a connection. And of course, that's easier to do with some friends and family than others. If you want to go a little deeper than that, so you've made the decision, you've connected with some friends and family or people that you feel you can share your light with. The next thing is to think about what ill in the world bothers me the most. What ill in the world bothers me the most? Because again, we can't expect any one person to go and fix everything in the world right now. So perhaps it's children, perhaps it's veterans, perhaps it's the earth, or, organic gardening. I don't know. But when you reflect on that, what bothers me the most? The next part of that question is, and what could I bring to that difficulty or situation to change it? And I can tell you right now, if in the midst of all of this rioting and demonstrations and all of this that's going on, if you decided, I want to understand why this is happening to certain people. So who's in my circle that I could go and talk to and find out about this? and to do it honestly and lovingly and connect with them. Because the world that you all want to live in is one of peace and connection. And you're in this moment of separation and fear and enemies and all sorts of blame going on. And so it's really about understanding what would love do here and choosing whatever lifts you that helps to lift whatever you would consider an ill in the world. And I think that allows you to feel your own courage, to feel your own light, and to grow in your own courage and to grow in your own light. And so you'll feel better, and you'll have a lovely circle of friends and family, and you'll also be making a difference in your community or wherever you've decided to invest your energy. There's no use in arguing with people that don't want to change. I really don't want you to argue with anyone. It's just adding fuel to the fire. So find your niche where you can bring your light and bring it. There are so many beautiful, beautiful opportunities in each community. And yes, we know there's COVID, and yes, we know that's still going on, but there's still ways to bring food to someone or bring library books to someone who's shut in, or whatever you want to do, because it's not enough to just wish the world was different. And going back to the D-Day from history, can you imagine all of those, for the most part, young men? What if they had just said, I don't want to go. It's too dangerous. I might die. It would have been a different outcome. And here you are in the midst of a world where there are still, of course, dictators, where there are still atrocities of every kind going on at the hands of people who feel like they're entitled to do that. So the remedy isn't to argue with someone. The remedy is really to say, I will take my light where I can make a difference, where I'm uplifted, where I'm guided, and where I can see with my own eyes and feel the breath of my voice when I make that difference in the communities where I'm headed. The next few years, of course, are going to be full of all sorts of arguments and turmoil and change and people deciding, who should do what and who doesn't want to do that. And it's difficult. It's difficult when you create those kinds of changes. But what is steering the ship that needs to be steering the ship, it's not yet steering the ship, is a vision and the leadership that goes with that. And the actions that go with that leadership. So again, I don't want to say, oh, follow this one or follow that one. I want you to each follow your own heart to where it would guide you to what feels right to you. And I think that the simplest answer is to understand something very, very clearly. America cannot have peace without justice. The world cannot have peace without justice. You can repress and discriminate and push people down only for so long. And then they'll be willing to die for their liberty. So this idea of justice and what is justice also needs to live in you. Like, what is the just use of my life and my light and my money? And again, that's for you to answer. But if you want to have a world of peace for your children and grandchildren and the generations to come, it's time to stand. It's time to stand and say yes to what you feel to say yes to, and no to what you would say no to. And in that process, to realize out of that comes a common ground of realizing if everyone has enough to eat and a way to earn money to keep their families safe and have a roof over their heads, there are very few of them that are interested in being terrorists because they have enough. So the other thing to just keep in this equation that you're creating, what do I have more than enough of that I can share, whether that's blankets, money, laughter, it's really up to each of you. And who do I want to share it with? And then do it. Do it, do it, do it. It is a time of action. Some of you are old enough to have lived through the 60s and all of the demonstrations that went on during those years of civil rights, especially at that time. And it was very, very difficult. And changes were made. And there's still a long way to go. When Lincoln freed the slaves, it was a happy day, but there was still a long way to go. And here in this country and on this earth, there's still a long way to go. But we want your journey to be as joyful as possible, as fulfilling as possible, knowing that there are many who will still argue with the way you choose to live. Bless them. Bless them. And say that might be how you want to go or what you want to do or see. It's just not my way. Not my way. There's lots and lots of energy that's helping you right now. Lois and Samarah were in the pool here where she lives last night, and the clouds were gathering and the sunset was really incredible, and the various streaks of color were there, and light shows were going on, and lightning was striking, and both of them started shivering in the pool, even though here in Arizona it's, 90 something, whatever. But it's the energy of change. And the energy of change is being brought to you also through all the realms of light, through all the angels and archangels and all those who've gone before, all of those who have brought to this life the opportunity to really create a planet of peace and joy and well-being for all. And so the decision is really, I choose to be a light, and I also choose to not live in fear and to not just, sort of surround myself with stuff, more stuff than I need. I'm going to choose to have what's joyful and to let go of anything that might serve someone else that's no longer joyful for me. It's going to be a year of change and a year of challenge and a year of opportunity. And your opportunity is really so precious. It's to discover how strong you are, how bold you are, how courageous you are, and how loving you are. And to let that be, like the treasure that it was meant to be. You are meant to be the sons and daughters of life, of God, and to live on this planet in a way that is I want to say both a playground and a proving ground. And I'm not sure. Sometimes it might feel like one and sometimes it might feel like the other. But the opportunity is to be a bearer of the light, a bringer of the light. And that means you have it as well. You are shining through. Your light is shining through. So that's what the time is. That's what the time calls for. And to help keep you strong, I would say there are a couple of things that I'll just remind you about. Too much television, not a good idea. Learn what you need to learn, turn it off. Now, go to whatever music you love. Do a little dancing, do a little ceremony, do a celebration. Because the movies on the television at the moment, the movie of life, if you will, is how some people are operating. But if you then say, okay, that's what's going on, but the world that I want is over here. The world that I want is a world of peace and plenty and prosperity, etc., etc. So now I'm going to be that bridge. I'm going to have seen what I saw, and I'm going to do my dance and bring in my music and my beautiful presence, and I'm going to send energy. And then I'm going to pack up some sandwiches and give them out, or whatever action feels right to you to do in this time that we're in. Because by identifying with the new and the actions you can take toward the new, you become, as the law of attraction shows you, you become part of that field of creation instead of being in the field of domination and discord and difficulty. You can watch it for a little bit so you see what's going on and then say, no, that's not my world. My world is a world of peace and plenty, and I now choose to be in that way, in the ways that work for me. Secondly, you need a lot more water. Water cleanses and clears. And do your water blessing, and then drink and drink and drink, and then shower your beautiful plants and wherever you live with blessed water. And the third thing is you need to walk on the earth, barefoot if you can, it depends on where you live, whenever you can. And in that process, contact Gaia, contact Pachamama, contact the earth and say, I know you have a dream as well. Help me to have the strength, the physical body, the memory, and the means to bring that dream to life. So you're sort of walking in both worlds in that way at this time. And lastly, lots of laughter. Bring your family together and tell jokes or watch funny stories or laugh together, because what the laughter is doing is it's breaking up the fear and the doubt and the congestion that would otherwise limit your possibilities. So my dream for all of you is to be at peace and to be the peace, and to know that just because someone doesn't agree with you, it shouldn't stop you. You can say, I wish you well. Not my story, not my story. I'm writing a new story. I would love it if you want to join, and if you don't, that's all right. But in my story, and go back, it's interesting, they're going to have the march on the anniversary of Martin Luther King Jr.'s I Have a Dream speech. They're going to have a march in Washington again. That's it. That's the dream. Have your dream, but act on it. Act on it. Live it. Be it. Do it. Sing it. Dance it. Laugh it. So that's all I want to say to my larger audience today. We'll have a few moments for questions for those who've gathered on the Zoom call. But I want you to know, more than anything, something really profound. You are always safe. The body may be done, but you are always safe with us. Your soul comes home. We surround you with love and light. Don't be afraid. Walk in courage. Walk in honor. Walk in beauty. Walk in love. I love you all. Namaste.